and to step up to the challenges of the world, challenges having after or during the pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic, and also to address the issues of the Sustainable Development Goals and sustainability, taking into account the Maqasid Syariah. And of course, here in this context, ICOL is also championing the Peace and Justice in the Community flagship to address the issues on the access to justice, for instance. So I take this opportunity to wish everyone a happy and fruitful roundtable discussion, and may Allah bless our effort, inshallah. With the lafaz Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, I hereby declare this symposium open. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Prof, for officially opening our symposium this morning. Alhamdulillah. Thank you, Prof. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now proceed to the first highlights of the events. Before we do that, just allow me to give a bit of overview of what the symposium is all about. Basically, the symposium was organized by ICOL in collaboration with other agencies that last time we organized on our own. Basically to tackle or to discuss on current issues concerning ICT and the law, and how this we can it can become a platform for us to think, to critically develop perhaps areas which I believe are of importance as far as the ICT regulation is concerned. And as we see our country move towards beyond 2020, and now we are talking about 5G and all this broadband, at the same time we are also seeing online risk such as cybercrime, cybersecurities are also on the rise. So we are happy to have with us today the panelists. I believe very much esteemed panelists. Allow me to introduce Dr. Ani Munirah from Faculty of Law, University Utara Malaysia. Dr. Ani Munirah has been doing research on cyber law since a long time. Today she'll be talking about ICT governance for sustainability risk management. That's our first speaker for our first panel discussion. For our second speaker, Puan Azlina Arifin, she is from National Cybersecurity Agency, NACSA. NACSA is basically, for students who are not familiar, NACSA is an agency placed under the Majlis Keselamatan Negara or the National Security Council of Malaysia, under the purview of Jabatan Perdana Menteri. Yeah? So cybersecurity, it acts as a cybersecurity agency coordinating the national cybersecurity strategy and security, one of them. And thank you, Puan Azlina, for being with us today. Puan Azlina will be sharing the topic on Malaysia. The topic is on Malaysia cybersecurity strategy, stability amidst shifting landscape from NACSA's perspective. Inshallah, we hope to listen more about to this new cybersecurity strategy that has been launched recently. And our third speaker is esteemed our guest, Encik Muhammad Amirul Hafiz Rusli, Director and as well as Head of the New Media Department, Malaysian Communication and Multimedia Commission, the so-called, if I say MCMC is the internet regulator in Malaysia, nanti MCMC marah, dia kata dia bukan the only regulator. Tak apa, I really indebted to MCMC for helping me with my PhD research. And thank you, Encik Amirul, for being with us today. I think the right person to speak about platform regulation. Although the team is named platform regulation, I believe the team is broad enough to cover issues of governance, issues of sustainability, cybersecurity strategy. And I think the title that Encik Amirul suggests here is to talk about co-regulation as a meaningful step forward, as a title given by Encik Amirul. I think this we can hopefully see by the end of the discussion, where are we heading towards in the years to come, as far as regulation of the internet is concerned, or whether we are actually getting more stricter, or whether we are, what is the way forward, and so on. So to start off with the panel discussion, I would like to invite Dr. Ani Munirah to speak. For your information, each speaker will be given 20 minutes to deliver your speech, and then we will followed by question and answers. Members of the symposium, you are free to comment on the chat box. If you have any questions, inshallah, I'll read the questions as we come along to the Q&A. Dr. Ani, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mahyudin. Thank you so much, IIUM, and the organizer for this symposium. It gives me great pleasure to come back to my alma mater. I am a graduate of IIUM for my LLB, for my DSLP, and for my MCL. Yeah. All right. So welcome back. Yeah. So if it is face to face, then I would have the pleasure of coming to the ICOL physically, but this is good enough, and I can meet everyone else. We are all connected in the same meeting room, albeit we are from different locations. Okay. I'm going to share my screen. Okay. All right. Can I have a shout out in the chat box that you can see my screen, and you can hear me clearly? Can you please help me to type in the chat box, everyone, so that I will know? Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay. At the moment, I am serving as a senior lecturer at the University of Utara Malaysia at the School of Law, and that's my email address if you feel like you want to communicate, connect with me after this session. When I heard about the topic, ICT for sustainability, so I was like, wow, what am I going to talk? So I pick up some important points from my previous research. So I got the topic of ICT governance and sustainability risk management. At first, I thought, wow, this is quite a heavy topic. So why? Because I have ICT, and then I have ICT governance, and then I have sustainability, and then sustainability risk, and then sustainability risk management. So I will try to walk through this, I think less than 20 minutes now, because I was walking through my memorabilia just now. About all these concepts that I want to talk about. Okay, now let me begin by going through my student days. Okay, when I was studying, the first time I heard about sustainability as a concept, we know what is sustainability, but as a concept, it was during my study days at ICOL. So I was like, sustainability, what is it? So my lecturers were talking about sustainability development, sustainability this, sustainability that. So I Googled, what is sustainability? So when I Googled last night about sustainability, it is to post something, okay? like someone holding a tree. Yeah? So why? Because this is rightly so, because the word sustainability goes back to maintain, okay, the ability to maintain something at a certain pace, or using today's resources without compromising the resources of the future. So it's like, okay, that is sustainability. Meaning, in other words, whatever that we do today will not compromise what the future generation will be enjoying the resources. So, okay, so sustainability development. So when you build houses, you can use the forest, for example, so that it will not injure or impact on the future development. So we will tell ding dong, what is it? What is sustainability? So everybody was talking about sustainability, but the concept is still not clear, okay? Or to me, suddenly I want to cough. I'm sorry. Okay, so sustainability. Okay, until that comes to in the year 2015, when the United Nations General Assembly come up with these 17 goals, in other words, 17 aspects in which we can transform our world, and it is to be achieved by the year 2030. Okay, but I'm not going to go through these 17 goals just suffice for me to say that it talks about by the year 2030, we are going to come up with strategies and we're going to implement that there shall be no poverty, there will be zero hunger, there will be good health and well-being, for example. And I'm sure everybody in this meeting room today, you are very familiar with number 16, like what Prof. Farid Sufian was mentioning just now. He leads this peace, justice, and strong institution like equal access to justice, like coming up with set of rules so that everybody can crime prevention. Okay, for example, so you would agree with me that these goals, okay, and how does it relate to ICT that we are talking today? ICT plays a very great role towards achieving or towards shaping our effort towards this SDG, 17 SDGs. Let me give you an example. There was one example given by Prof. Prof. Farid just now. It's about sentencing. Yes, it relates very closely to us. AI sentencing, for example. Do we let go with the discretion or with these powers of the court to come up with this sentencing, or do we allow this AI algorithms to take over, okay, all that. Okay, so this is also how ICT plays a role in determining or in towards shaping this achieving of that SDG. Okay, likewise, good health and well-being. ICT is connected, telemedicine is connected, that we can do virtual operation. The expert will be somewhere else, and then the operation can be taking place at another location. They are connected. Okay, so why about all this as well, sustainable cities and communities, as you can see, like smart homes. Yeah, everybody knows about smart homes, but where do we stand those ICT technologies in this effort towards achieving the SDGs? Okay, so I don't have to explain to everyone about the benefits, okay, of ICT. Now, when you say ICT, technology is in your hands, like you are holding that world, you are holding, there are so many things that you can achieve by using the, or harnessing the powers of the technology. Like I don't have to mention about connectivity just now. Court matters can be settled. We have this virtual court hearings, this rule in 2021 amendment to the rules of court that allows for virtual court hearings, that people can be, the parties, the solicitors, the judge can be at different locations, but they can still hold that meeting. Audio and video conference system for the purpose of that. You can also achieve task completion. For example, you can come up with cost matters. You can come up with cost lists, because in the past people might be coming up with a court matters. The cost list will be for manual preparation, but now all the case management system, the queue management system at the courts, for example. And not only interlegal fraternity, it can also be achieved in many other aspects like education. Yeah? We are all connected to this remote learning, online learning platform. Yeah? SDG 4, something that is connected with quality education, okay, for example. Socializing. Yeah. One day when I go to my social media, for example, okay, there's an article, but I can see a lot of information on in the comments. Okay, people are expressing themselves by freedom of expression. For example, using socializing, transportation, yeah, it can be managed, monitoring can also be done, and etc. These are only some of the benefits, which I'm not going to go through very detailed. But you would agree with me that technology is a double-edged sword. Yeah, one point it can be giving us great benefits, yeah, but the other way it can also pose risks, threats, problems, issues, and challenges, just to name a few. Privacy, yeah, your information once digitized, it will stay there forever. I will have my esteemed panel of speakers to confirm with me. Once you delete that information, that so-called information is still maintained somewhere on the internet and can easily be retrievable. Okay, for example, technical risks, downtime, error, what can cause to the operation, the medical procedures that are being done. For example, the remote learning, once internet is down, okay, we are all faced with this within the university context, within institutional context. We are having a meeting, suddenly our students somewhere cannot access our class because of connectivity, for example, downtime, error. security error, potential of somebody coming in and changing the court judgment, somebody potential of not going very deeply into court, the potential of coming back our data inside, okay, the information security, the security that it could be hacked, it could be tampered with, okay, for example, those are all risks. And confidentiality, okay, some documents, there are still some information that we have, they are confidential, okay, we want to maintain the integrity and confidentiality of our information. Risk coming with ICT as well as social risks as well. So when you are connected, there can be issues like your account, yeah, because we are socializing and then somebody being duped for spending money for the other person, for example, and many other, because my paper is not specifically focusing on ICT risks, but it's focusing on the potential of governing the ICT towards sustainability. Okay. So when there are risks with ICT, it also means there are risks with sustainability. Okay, sustainability. So what does it mean? Okay, I quote here. It doesn't come from me. It comes from the literature that talks about sustainability risk. Means uncertain social or environmental event or condition that, if it occurs, can cause significant negative impact on the company or institution. Also includes the opportunity that may be available to an organization because of changing social or environmental factors. So one day when we are coming up with a set of rules, policies, and guidelines for our institution, let's take it very simple. Our social media rules within the organization, within UUM, within IIUM, within a certain workplace, okay, for example, that is for the purpose of maintaining the integrity, the reputation of the organization. Okay, for example, social media, you're not allowed to post a certain type of comment. If you want to do it, please do not affiliate yourself to the university or the institution. Okay, for example, those are some of the wordings. Why do we do that? Yeah, it is because we want to avoid sustainability risk towards reputation, for example. Now, a very famous term coined is also ESG related risk. ESG coming from environmental, social, and governance related risk. Okay? Why? Because these are the major aspects in which ESG risk, yeah, you are talking about risk and or opportunities. Once we have risk, we have threat, we have also opportunities, yeah, that may impact an entity, are commonly referred to as sustainability. Okay? Non-financial or extra financial risk. Okay, so from there, when there is a sustainability risk, what do we need to do? Okay, we need to come up with governance. Okay, governance in order for us to maintain or to reduce or to minimize those sustainability risks. So why I put ICT governance here? Okay, because that is the theme of our symposium. Okay, it's on IT or ICT governance. So ICT for sustainability. So governance can be in many other aspects as well, but because we are talking about ICT here, I put it in bracket. Governance is the act or process of governing, okay, or overseeing the control and direction of something, such as a country or an organization or an institution or a certain club or a certain group of people. For example, we are governing that. So what is governance law? Is governance case law? Is governance something? So it can be various other ways, yeah, in which the entire process of maintaining, yeah, that control and direction of that organization. UNESCO has also come up with the coined term of governance is structures and processes that are designed to ensure accountability, transparency, responsiveness, rule of law, stability, equity, and inclusiveness. So you can read on your own. You can also Google define governance, for define governance, whatever it's the define governance UNESCO, for example. So what are the example ones? I am sure our esteemed panel of speakers this morning and also this afternoon will be able to enlighten us to some of these, which I'm not going to go through very little. These are some of the very basic, very, how shall I say, very simplified version. That there are many others as well. You type into Google, what are the cyber laws of Malaysia? You can see we have the CMA, we have the Computer Crimes Act, Digital Signature Act, Electronic Governance Communications Act also is not listed here. We also have the guidelines on management of cyber risk by its Securities Commission. We have the content code, we have various ISO guidelines, we have ISO documents, as well as policies, guidelines of institutions, schools within the school context. They also have their own ICT policies. If you can also Google certain companies, certain organizations, ICT policy of SIMDAB, ICT policy of Petronas, ICT policy of certain companies or giant organizations, giant corporations. You will also see them. Okay, but why are they in place? Yeah? In place because they want to help to minimize the ICT risk towards minimizing or managing the sustainability risk. Because at the end, what we want to achieve is the 17 SDG goals by the year 2020. So maybe when they were drafting, they were not, whether they realize or they do not realize, for that matter, is the purpose of coming to how shall I say, coming to towards sustainability. Yeah, maybe you don't coin the term sustainability. I'm sorry, it's making so much noise. Okay, all right. It's how shall I say? It is okay. We don't use the word sustainability. We don't use the word SDG for that matter. But what you want is you want a peaceful country, which is part of the SDG as well. You want quality education for the people. You don't use the term is form over substance. Okay? We know form, we know substance. Form is how you see things. You judge a book by its cover, but the substance is the content. Whatever name you coin it, whatever name it is actually for sustainability, which is in line with the 17 SDGs again. Okay. Now let me just go to just a little bit. It seems that I am also running out of time. Okay. Is the process for sustainability risk management. Okay. Again, not going to go very detailed, but once you have sustainability risk, we have to come up with sustainability risk management. Also part of my role at the university as the panel of auditors for the university as well. So we learn about this risk management, but now it comes to sustainability risk management. I can also see the various wonderful and interesting topics during the parallel during the breakout sessions. Yeah, I also went through the list of topics that you'll be presenting, you'll be sharing as well. So oh, okay, these are all encompassing everything that the esteemed panel of speakers will be speaking today as well. Some of you are even talking about sustainability risk management, whether you realize it or not. Yeah. For example, I saw a topic on cyberbullying. I saw a topic on many other topics as well about crimes, computer crimes. So those are some of the strategies as well for towards maintaining or managing these sustainability risks. 5 steps, very common or generic steps towards establishing and the purpose of what is this SRM exercise that we want to do. Yeah, and then you will, once you know what is the purpose and aim, this is the scope, we now will assess the risk that we are having nowadays. Yeah, what could potentially happen, what's already happened. So how do you deal with it? Yeah, and then you will communicate. Communication of risk is to create significant and create and execute the action plan for the SRM. Okay, and then once you have communicated, you have discussed within the SRM framework, what are you going to do? There are options for you to respond to those risks. It's either there are four options. Either you want to accept those risks. Yeah, we cannot avoid this risk, so it will happen. You want to avoid the risk. The second option is yeah, it's something that we can avoid. Let's come up with an alternative perspective for how we do things. Or you can share the risk. Or now it's not only our responsibility, we can also change it, or we can also share it with another party so that they can also share the concern. They can also work towards minimizing or managing those sustainability risks, or you can just mitigate those risks. After the implementation, after responding to those risks, of course, is the monitoring and oversight. What is it you want to do to review the effectiveness, quality, and other aspects of the SRM practices? I hope I have made some points here. Okay, so what is it that I want to focus on in my presentation here? What is the relationship between ICT governance? How does ICT governance contribute towards SRM? Yeah, sustainability, risk management. Very quickly now, I'm going to go for assurance of equal access. It's readily available. You can access it. You can come towards it. The system is there. Yeah. COVID-19 vaccination, the information is there, ICT is there, so you can just log in and get that information. It's readily available. Okay, for example, you can just go to covidvaccine.com.my, I think the URL, for example. Protection against reputational risk, the one that it says email policy of the university, email policy, you shall do this, you shall not do that. Okay, for example, it is to protect against the reputation, okay, of that organization. Protection of data integrity and confidentiality as well. So can you see sometimes when you send out emails for the organization, there will be this confidentiality statement. This email is intended for the recipient only. Okay? If you are not the intended recipient, please kindly discard this email and inform the sender of the email. For example, there is one way of which we can monitor, okay, towards data integrity and confidentiality as well. How you treat those information. Yes, sustainability risk policies, risk management policies, for example, it is for, how do I say this? It is for maintaining, how do you treat data? Yeah? How, when we go for risk audit, for example, we want to make sure that that data is transmitted through the process flow. We want you to distribute assignment questions for your students. How do you do that? Yeah, when you do that, what is the potential of leakage? What is the potential of the students' assignments being imported? One of the studies that I am doing as well is on the cloud computing in higher education. So we're thinking about, what about the copyrighted materials, yeah, available on the students' work, for example. Now you put it online, you submit it online. So we're thinking about the potential of protection. So what system are you going to use? Is it the open access system? Is it closed access system? Okay, for example, reduction of environmental impact, mitigation of fraud and improper business, so that now you can ensure the authenticity or the integrity of the information that you are having. You can also help to mitigate fraud as well as improper business. Sorry, Dr. Mayudin, I'm taking so much time. So now it's my conclusion. Just very simple way forward. Okay, so what can I sum up from my short presentation just now is on the ICT governance is important. Okay, why? Because of the potential risks that might come together with the risk. There are various risks that can come entailing the usage of ICT. So what do we do? We come up with governance. Okay, why? It is to minimize the ICT risk, and in turn, okay, whether we realize it or not, it is to manage the sustainability risk, and of course, towards the direction that we want to achieve sustainability. So sustainability is not only the plant or the tree that I was holding, I have shown in the slide just now. It's like a tree coming up from the hand, right? It is much bigger than that. It's much more than that. So when you coin the word sustainability, always relate back to the 17 SDG goals. It is more than that: health, education, peace, justice, and strong institution, climate change, for example. Thank you so much, everyone. Sorry for taking so long.
No problem at all. Thank you very much, Dr. Ani. If I can just pick a key theme or key points from Dr. Ani's presentation, is that ICT as well as law, we both play a very important role in sustainability, in order to manage as well as to reduce online risk. A lot of online risk, and on this matter, I think management of those risks is very important. and what more is to reduce them so that we can create a more safer cyber environment. And talking about safer cyber environment, we now have the pleasure to invite Madam Azlina Arifin from NACSA, so basically the right person to talk about cyber security. NACSA has been championing this, and let me just put you in a spotlight. Okay, Puan Ani pula, Puan Azlina. Basically, Puan Azlina, for participants' information, is a Principal Assistant Director at the Cyber Integration Legal Division of NACSA. And then Puan Azlina is also responsible to identify gaps and issues to combat cybercrime, and also for continuous improvement as far as cybercrime offences and interagency cooperation is concerned. So without further ado, Madam Azlina, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Mayudin, for the introduction. Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to each and everyone here today. I'm pleased to join the session today, and also thank you to Ahmad, Ibrahim Kulliyyah of Law, IIUM for the invitation, and also for NACSA to share our thoughts related to the topic today. So let me share my slides here. I always have this problem with sharing. Dr. Mayudin, boleh ke I forward pada Dr. Mayudin?
Sure, you can forward to me.
Okay, just hold on. So sorry, sangat-sangat semua. But nevertheless,
you WhatsApp pun tak apa?
saya WhatsApp. It's quite big juga tau, Dr. Mayudin. But it's ending now. So sorry. I've actually tested it yesterday.
Okay.
Thank you. So besides being the Principal Assistant Director in NACSA, also I'm a student of IIUM at the moment. Actually, for everybody's information. Sekarang ni saya tengah buat master dengan ICT, insyaAllah. Sekarang tengah finishing the first semester lah, basically. All the subject dalam first semester.
All the best. Ya, saya tengah buka ni. Share screen. Everyone see the screen?
Okay, all right. So thank you. All right. So again, thank you to each and every one of you for spending your valuable time with us today. I will set the setting of my presentation with brief information about NACSA, and then I will follow by our journey in developing the national strategy, and also finally a brief introduction of the national strategy itself on how us Malaysia ensure the cyber stability amidst the shifting landscape of the cyber at the moment. Okay, all right. So next slide, Doctor. Okay, all right. So the National Cybersecurity Agency, or NACSA, is under the National Security Council, or formerly known as MKN, was officially established back in February 2017 to lead the matters related to cybersecurity in Malaysia, with the objective to secure and also strengthen Malaysia resilient in facing the threats of cyber attacks. We do that by coordination and also consolidating the nation best expert and also resources in the field of cybersecurity, basically. All right, so NASA is very committed to ensure that we can always develop and implement national level cybersecurity policy and also strategy, mainly to protect our critical national information infrastructure, undertaking whatever strategic measures that we can to counter the cyber threats and also cybercrime, coming up with the cybersecurity awareness, acculturation, capacity building, and also whatever strategy approach that we can do to combat cybercrime, to foster constructive regional and also global networks among entities with a shared interest in cybersecurity. Okay, so in order for us to transform all of that, or even the establishment of a government policy on cybersecurity, it will always be a very interesting journey. Acknowledging the growth of cyber threats actually that can endanger the sovereignty of the nation, basically, we have put up the national security policy. We put it in place. So last time we call it as a National Cybersecurity Policy, or NCSP, whereby we make sure that the CNNI is protected to a level that can commensurate the risk faced at that time. But with the changing cyber threats environment and also the advancements of technology and so on, like other countries also in this world, we need to have a more flexible and also dynamic cybersecurity strategy to meet all of these unknown global threats, actually, to achieve the cyber stability, basically, right? So in line with the global development and also the increasing use of the ICT technology, the government see that the existing NCSP, or the National Cybersecurity Policy Framework, is no longer able to assess the risk of current cybersecurity threats comprehensively. So what do we do? Previous slide, Doctor. First, we look at the lesson learned and also areas of improvement from the implementation of NCSP. And then we also look at how we perform for the Global Cybersecurity Index, or the GCI, sorry. Understanding where our strengths are and what will be the weaknesses that we need to improve, basically. So we did engagement with 148 agencies, public and also private sectors, because we want the inclusivity from every stakeholder to ensure that the successful implementation of the new policy or the new strategy, basically. To build that, sorry, my computer is okay. Okay, so to build that strategic relationship, because we want to improve the cybersecurity for the whole nation, basically. In addition to brainstorming session with the ministries, agency, and also the industry, the development of MCSS also take into account the cybersecurity practices from foreign countries such as the United Kingdom, United States, Australia, Japan, and also our neighbor, which is Singapore. Guidance on approach to be implemented also, we take it from the NIST ataupun National Institute of Standards and also Technology, US Department of Commerce. We use it very a lot, actually, as a reference when we develop the new strategy. And we also obtain all the views and feedback from counterparts through meeting, conferences, seminar, as an input to the development of the new MCSS. Next slide, Doctor. So next slide, Doctor. Okay, so our dependency on the cyberspace has somehow increased significantly during the pandemic situation. Okay? Students will not be able to go to school, so everybody embark on the online learning. Even penjawat awam cannot go to office to perform their duties, embark on work from home, and so on. So the threats and risks and also the vulnerabilities stemming from this domain have also multiplied during that period, basically, right? And to support the government commitment to ensure the safe and secure cyberspace by enhancing our cybersecurity capability on all fronts, the MCSS officially launched on the 12th October 2020. Next slide, Doctor. Okay, next slide. Okay, so this is basically the gist of the strategy. It talks about people, it talks about technology, and also all the process, and also coming up with the policy, with the legislation, and so on. So MCSS is also focused like other country strategy. We override on the success factors of interrelated and also independent people, process, and also technology. Next one. The MCSS has its very own vision and mission as stated in the slides. It consists of 12 strategy, 35 action plans, and also 113 programs to safeguard the nation's cyberspace. And in essence, these are 5 foundations to this strategy basically. So by the introduction of the new Malaysia cybersecurity strategy, so it's already superseded the national cybersecurity policy, which developed 2 years before, whereby the MCSS is developed to be more inclusive and also comprehensive to cover the protection for our critical national information infrastructure, or most of you may have known it as a CNNI, the businesses in Malaysia, MSME, and also SME industry, and not forgetting the citizen basically. Okay, next slide. Okay, so this is the 5 pillars, whereby first one is about effective governance and management. Second one is about strengthening the legislative framework and also enforcement. Number 3 is about catalyzing the world-class technology R&D and industry. Number 4 is capacity and capability building, awareness and education. And number 5 is about strengthening the global cooperation or collaboration. All right, so the next slide, Doctor. Okay, so the first one. The first pillar is about effective governance. So these are the gist of what that we want to achieve in this first pillar. We want to ensure that we'll be able to enhance the national cyber security governance, good governance with related to national cyber security. And then we want to improve the organization management and business operation. We want to protect them through active cyber defense. We want to have a cyber risk framework. We want to have an effective collaboration with them and also coordination with the businesses, with the CNNI. And then we want to strengthen the cybersecurity incident. We want people to know where they were supposed to report whenever they encounter any cybersecurity incident. We want to be able to do some sort of response, deter, detect, and also predict what will happen in terms of the incident. We want to have early warning system. We want to see the threats visibility, to be able to do some sort of threat intelligence, be able to do threat hunting through an integrated SOC operation. So NASA has identified a few SOC that we want to work with to achieve all of this. And under this particular effective governance and management also, we are pleased to inform that the Yang Maha Perdana Menteri himself has agreed to become the minister to ensure that cybersecurity is under his purview basically. Okay, so next one, Doctor. Okay, so who should involve with this particular MCSS? So everyone actually. The next slide depicted whatever that I'm talking about. Next slide, Doctor. Okay, this is the ecosystem of the MCSS basically. Of course, in terms of policy coordination, the governance will come from NASA ataupun NASA dan juga MKN. And then the next stakeholder will be the critical national information infrastructure. We want to protect them because they are the most important infrastructure in Malaysia to support everybody, operation and so on. So we want to ensure that we can also protect the SMEs because now SMEs are moving towards digital. And then we want to ensure that we'll be able to combat the cybercrime with all of these stakeholders. And then we want to ensure that when we want to do all of this, people are aware and also educated related to cybersecurity, cyber technologies and so on. So this one we will involved with the private sectors, MCMC, PDRM, BNM and so on. And also the capacity building, which is through the to cater the issue or matters related to the cybercrime, which is PDRM, ILCAP, MDAC, MCMC, CSM, universities and also polytechnics. And of course, the international cooperation through our KLN, KDN, MINDEF, and so on. And of course, the last defense will be the national security or sovereignty is all of our ATM, PDRM, and also our research department, basically of Malaysia. Next one, Doctor. Okay, and pillar number 2 talks about strengthening the legislative framework and also enforcement, whereby we want to ensure that we can enhance the existing Malaysia cyber law in addressing the current and also emerging threats. This is whereby we want to ensure that our law enforcement have the knowledge and skills to investigate all of the cyber crime cases in Malaysia. And also we want to ensure there is a coordinated and also integrated national approach. They have the adequate tools actually to help them with the investigation. We also want to enhance the capacity and capability of cybercrime enforcement. And because of that, actually, we are also looking at coming up with a new law, which is the Cybersecurity Act, basically. And also we want to enhance the regional and also international cooperation through bilateral and multilateral cooperation on cybercrime. Whether Malaysia should assert into certain convention or any treaties related to cybercrime. One that I'm sure that everybody's familiar would be the Budapest Convention. But at the moment at the UN General Assembly, Russia has also proposed a new cybercrime convention. So we are looking at it now because because previously for Budapest Convention, we don't have much say because this is EU centric. So for the one that proposed by Russia, it's still very premature. So Malaysia still have the opportunity actually to provide comments and also provide our inputs on how the convention should look like, basically. All right, the next one is pillar number 3, whereby it's about catalyzing the world-class innovation. Okay, so we know that Malaysia is a user country, but we also have this some sort of vision that we should also be able to produce our own cybersecurity products, actually. So we want to spur the national cybersecurity R&D and program. We want to promote the creation of local technologies and also competitive local industry. So for this particular pillar, we work very closely with MDAT through various of its their programs, actually, to encourage more companies in Malaysia to produce cybersecurity products that suit the environment in Malaysia and also can fulfill whatever demands there is in Malaysia, whether in public sector or in private sector, basically. And we also would like to create more center of excellence, actually, so that we can spearhead innovation in the areas of cybersecurity. Next one, Doctor. Okay. And pillar number 4, we talk about enhancing capacity and capability building, awareness, and also education, whereby we want to enhance the national cybersecurity capacity and capability building. We want to enhance the cybersecurity awareness. We want to ensure that each focus group from kids, until orang tua pun be able to access to the programs and so on. And also we want to nourish the cybersecurity knowledge through education. So this one we already talked to KPT, various discussion has been initiated actually between us and KPT and also MDEC on how we can fulfill the strategy number 10. And for the strategy number 9, it's also ongoing at the moment. We are doing some sort of stock taking to ensure that we can cover each focus group. And for the national cybersecurity capacity and also capability building, it's also about having more center of excellence in cybersecurity in the universities, basically. All right, next one. And the last one will be the pillar number 5, which talks about strengthening the global cooperation. We want to strengthen international cooperation and also collaboration in cybersecurity affairs. Of course, we cannot do it alone. We have to talk to other countries, what are the things that happening in their countries and how they counter this, so that we can also be prepared to ensure that Malaysia is also resilient to this kind of attacks and so on. We want to demonstrate our commitment in promoting a secure, stable, peaceful cyberspace to uphold the international security. So this is part of our continued effort in driving the regional confidence building measures, or CPM. Of course, there are other platform actually in United Nations that we also participated with regards to strengthening the global cooperation, basically. Okay, next one, Doctor. Okay, so basically, at the moment, as everybody knows, that Malaysia has already, launched its very own My Digital, or the Malaysia Digital Economy Blueprint. So we hope that by having this particular strategy, we will be able to, you know, uphold whatever that the government wanted to achieve through the Malaysia digital economy, whereby we want to ensure that the environment is trusted and also secured, making sure that all the elements related to security by design, all the supply chain security is being taken care, and also implementation of the comprehensive security measures actually. All right, so the next one, Doctor. Okay, so these are the 5 ongoing strategy initiatives related to each pillar of the MCSS, which is most of it are ongoing, but we also have those initiatives that are already completed. Let's say, for example, the first one is about the endorsement of MKN Executive Directive number 26. This is to ensure that we have a good governance related to cybersecurity coordination in Malaysia, in which headed by our very own Yang Mahbub Perdana Menteri. And then we are also enhancing our National Cyber Command Center and Coordination, or NC4, as the national cert. That means that every other certs can connect to NC4 to ensure that we can get the comprehensive posture of our cybersecurity in Malaysia, basically. And for pillar number 2, whereby we talk about legislative and strengthening the laws and so on, yes, we are doing some sort of feasibility study on Cybersecurity Act that we're going to start this year. And we want to work with IIUM in particularly on this matter. Then we are also in the process of having a cybercrime integrated management system for our LEAs actually, whereby this system will become their first stop center actually to do some sort of information digging related to any perpetrator related to cybercrime. And we are also drafting the National Cybercrime Enforcement Plan actually. This is whereby we want to see the areas related to, what do you call that, knowledge or tools that required by our law enforcement to manage the cybercrime cases in Malaysia. Maybe we need to talk to ILCAP also in coming up with the training, specific training on cybercrime. But at the moment, we are also providing all of this training actually to our cyber law agencies through our international partners or international stakeholders. We have been providing them training on investigation on cryptocurrency, which coordinated by FBI and so on. And for pillar number 3 about spurring the industry of cybersecurity, we are doing collaboration with MDEC through their program Cyber 100, whereby by at the end of these 5 years, 2024 actually, we want to have 100 companies in Malaysia that can produce, 100 product or solution in cybersecurity to be produced by our local industry. We have also launched the metric program for our SME, whereby they can opt for their businesses. And number 4 is about National Cybersecurity Awareness Master Plan, which is the one that I mentioned, that we want to cover all the groups, in Malaysia. And number 5 is about strengthening bilateral on cybersecurity matters. So this one is ongoing, basically, like the one that we attend meeting in UN, we attend meeting in ASEAN, and so on. Next one. So I think this is the last slide, basically, Doctor. So I think this is the last one, right, Doctor? Yeah, okay. So thank you very much for your kind intention, and shall there be any questions, I'm delightful to answer. Thank you, Doctor. And thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much, Puan Azlina. I think a very interesting presentation on the National Cybersecurity Strategy. I think that's the latest framework, the guiding framework that everyone basically should be aware of. And we know that for a fact, the government, particularly our Prime Minister, is very concerned about cybersecurity, and a lot of strategies are being created and in order to manage as well as to reduce online risks that we face due to the expansion of the digital world. So thank you, Puan Azlina. And I think that is basically setting up a very nice way or path for Encik Amirul to continue, because we are seeing a lot of international collaboration happening through NACSA. And then with that, perhaps Encik Amirul wants to talk about co-regulation. We can see that this is a clear working example of a clear co-regulation already. But allow me to just introduce Encik Amirul. Is currently the head of new media department in MCMC, and Encik Amirul is also in charge of the overall planning and management of the new media department. Encik Amirul is also the Malaysia's special point of contact in official government law enforcement requests with Facebook, Google, Twitter, and various other foreign and local platform providers. So without further ado, Encik Amirul, the floor is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Mahyudin, for the introduction. I'll just share slide. Good day, everyone. My name is Amirul. I'm the head of the department of MCMC, and it is my great pleasure to be one of the speakers for today's symposium, which is the third symposium on information and communication technology for sustainability 2022, organized by the Ahmad Ibrahim College of Laws, International Islamic University of Malaysia. So as the title suggests, we are going to talk about platforms today, and we know that digital platforms have become an essential and ubiquitous part of Malaysia's life. The digital platforms have evolved from novel communication tools to pervasive infrastructure for the Malaysia's economy, democracy, and society. So if I can share, in the 1990s, we used dial-up modems to connect to the internet, but today 86% of Malaysians are active social media users with multiple devices. We use PCs, laptops. We can even use our mobile phones and even our game consoles and televisions to connect to the internet. And on average, we spend 9 hours and 17 minutes on the internet every day. So during the COVID-19 pandemic, most households with school-age children use some form of online distance learning, and most of the Malaysian adults worked from home all or most of the time. Digital platforms have created tremendous benefits and new opportunities for expression, and they have become an essential part of Malaysian lives and livelihoods. But simultaneously, the growth of digital platforms has created new consumer protection issues. Digital platforms have become a focal point of policy conversations across the world, also due to their ambiguous impact on the economy and society. On the one hand, Digital platforms have been the source of increased consumer savings, job creation, and economic growth. But on the other hand, there is novel concerns which current regulatory approaches and instruments do not appear well equipped to address. So these concerns relate to possible harms, and in MCMC's case, such as hate speech content, harassment, and disinformation. And so dominant net platforms are more and more becoming the arena of social and legal conflicts. We witness a worldwide debate about potential new rules for dominant social media platforms, so-called new platform regulation. And these debates are highly complex in a law-based society because they require us to resolve the conflict between fundamental rights and risk delegation of essential tasks to private actors. Still, the negative effects of harmful behavior by these actors increases political appetite for regulation. The result has been development of a complex policy discussion, not so much of whether to regulate digital platforms, but rather on the difficulty on reaching consensus on what, how, and who to regulate. And co-regulation as a meaningful step forward. Co-regulation should be considered as in the regulatory process as it provides an option to improve the effectiveness of preventing prohibited user-generated content. Co-regulation is a regulatory approach that emphasizes public-private dialogue as well as responsibility sharing between the government and the broad spectrum of non-state actors. And it focuses on collaboration in the creation, adoption, enforcement, and evolution of policies and regulations. And this collaboration facilitates regulatory enforcement, and it also takes the interests of the private sector into account, thereby giving the needed space and incentive for innovation and growth. In a co-regulation environment, the government sets out general rules, general codes, for instance, setting the heaviest content removal requirements for planned terrorist attacks or child abuse, for example. At the same time, the platform providers will formulate a code of conduct or code of practice that determines detailed arrangements on what type of content or behaviors are acceptable on their platforms. So these shared responsibilities make the regulations more flexible in responding to the changing digital landscape with ever new business models and services available. And co-regulation allows a substantial increase of compliance levels as the private actor works alongside the government with the shared goal of improving industry-wide performance. So if you can see currently the online harms white paper of the UK government now considers introducing co-regulation for harmful user-generated content, and the UK government plans to work with industry players and the civil society to tackle harmful content, such as developing technologies for a safer online environment. And the resulting regulations are meant to follow a risk-based approach to introduce proportionate measures rather than requiring the removal of specific content regulations. We focus on prioritizing actions to tackle harmful content when it is perceived as an extraordinary threat or causing the greatest harm. So evidence gathered on all sides will be used to formulate practicable recommendations, considering the nature of the harm, the risks of the harm, and the technology available to the companies to counter harmful content. And the immediate first step of co-regulation in the involvement of a broad range of private stakeholders in policy formulation through public-private dialogue, PPD. PPD improves the transparency, quality, and effectiveness of the regulation as the relevant actors are directly involved in the policy formulation. And PPD allows the government as well as MCMC to explore best practices and to ensure that regulations lead to sustainable and effective content moderation, while also allowing for freedom of expression and open civil dialogue and prospering e-commerce. And MCMC has already engaged with the platform providers in the operational and policy making process and found it very beneficial as at now. So we will continue to work with them for them to understand our context, because they are based overseas and they need to understand our context and our nuances. So we will have a consistent dialogue with the private or external parties or the platform providers in order to provide them with local context for them to be able to understand us better. So it will not be short-term planning, it will be long-term run with the current situation that we are facing now. And we are also have been very open to public consultations regarding the regulations on UGC or user-generated content, because we have this CMCF, the Communications and Multimedia Content Forum. Right now, they are engaging with the users, academicians, to understand more on content standards by Malaysians. So they are looking towards reviewing the content code to be content code 2.0. So we have also been engaging with the consumers or the stakeholders to renew or to revamp the existing codes or laws. And I think, yeah, apart from co-regulation, empowering people to make the internet better, there is also a need to empower people. Forcing the digital platforms with lack of accountability to the users or content creators would arguably subvert our actual public interest intentions by leaving our communities out of important decisions about content. The internet is an inflection point. Now more than ever, all of us need to think carefully about how new rules will foster, not hinder, an online environment that allows for new norms of culture, science, participation, and knowledge. Engagement with public interest communities such as ours in this symposium can be done to develop standards and principles that are more inclusive, more enforceable, and more effective. We all deserve a better, safer internet. We can work with collaborators across sectors, including the citizens, to design regulations that empower citizens to improve it. We could do this together. And looking at the way forward, I think, yeah, this is the new thing that is coming to us, the metaverse. In technology, first mover advantage is often significant. This is why big technology or other online platforms are beginning to acquire software businesses to position themselves for the arrival of metaverse. They hope to be at the forefront of profound changes that the metaverse will bring in relation to digital interactions between people, between businesses, and between them both. What is metaverse? The short answer is it does not exist yet. The metaverse is still just an idea. What is the idea and what are the basic building blocks for it? The metaverse would be the outcome of convergence of a range, a nascent or extend digital and online technologies. It may start off as a focus for gaming, virtual reality, VR, or digital meeting spaces, digital assets, and perhaps even brain-to-machine interactions. But it will not end with that. Its scope and impact may expand with when artificial intelligence is included, and when data from the physical world is brought in by the Internet of Things, and integrating humans as well as businesses in ever more digital and physical coexistence. So we are moving towards 5G now. We are looking at doctors being able to do operations, medical operations from KL. They can do it to the patients in Penang, for example, using 5G. So we are moving towards that. We are moving towards Internet of Things. So we have to be able to to see what's coming, and then we must also be very flexible, because laws and regulations has to be flexible or even relevant. Like for us Muslims, we use Quran. Quran is the most relevant document that we stand guided with. So with laws and regulations also, we need to be very flexible and open to discourse. So the metaverse true potential lies, however, not in ever more convergence for its own sake, but in the outcome of that. It may evolve to become a universal digital platform for personal or commercial interactions, the platform replacing the current technology stack of the World Wide Web, operating on top of the internet, and become the source of the most valuable data about consumers available to the business world. So the revolutionary nature of the metaverse is likely to give rise to a range of complex digital and regulatory issues. With social media regulation impact upon metaverse stakeholders, it is difficult to speculate so far in advance on what the legal position will be in relation to the metaverse when social media itself is not yet much regulated globally. Big tech as incumbents have a particular interest in the evolution of the metaverse. Some commentators are calling for tougher regulation in order to make big tech more accountable for content that appears on their platforms. There's no doubt that change is coming in many jurisdictions for big tech and social media platforms. As the metaverse emerges, key stakeholders will face the same kind of scrutiny in relation to the same kind of content. As aspects of the metaverse materialize, so too will other legal issues we cannot yet foresee. We can, however, expect that metaverse stakeholders will need to deal with the full range of other issues that would apply in any digital context. The universe is expanding, and one day that might also be true of the metaverse. So that is the whole of my presentation. I think I'll just stop here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Cik Amirul. I think a really wonderful and insightful presentation. And I think if a key takeaway that I am interested to highlight here is from Cik Amirul's presentation is that laws will have to be flexible and relevant regardless of whatever technology that comes after this. And I agree as far as this metaverse is concerned. We are not sure of what are the potential legal issues that is of to come. We know that as of now, even if we talk about social media regulation or content regulation alone, we are not, because all these giant companies like Meta, Twitter, and all, they're coming from a different jurisdiction, and asking them to do this and that, has been challenging, I think, for MCMC. But if I stand to be corrected, I was told that they are having a branch here in Malaysia, and perhaps that can assist MCMC to collaborate with them as far as regulation and management is concerned. Thank you. I think we just would like to see whether there are questions in the chat room from Nick Nur Ain. Do you think the current government policies are adequate to tackle the challenges we are facing in the virtual world? I think these are a question meant for general lah, maknanya all three panelists can say something about this. Maybe we can start with Dr. Ani, and anything you wish to say about this.
Thank you, Nik Nurain, for asking that question. I was actually typing in the chat box just now what I want to reply to this question. But there is no easy answer to your question. Why would I say that? Because if one day we think that the law is adequate, but tomorrow the technology leaves the law behind again because of the development, advancement is so rapid that always when there comes an intersection between law and technology, to come up with new laws, new policies always take time. But to come up with new ICT, new risks, new threats and possibilities is endless. So we can't say that it's adequate or it's not adequate. It's a matter of which one keeps racing against the other. Okay, so I would say no easy answer, but it is the challenges we're facing in the world today is so huge and humongous. So it's a matter of racing against them. Thank you, Dr. Mahyudin and Nik Nurain.
Puan Azlina.
Hi, thank you, Nik Nurain, for the questions. I concur with Doctor's statement just now. There is no easy answer. Of course, a rapid digital transformation will somehow shift also the cybersecurity priorities. So the cybersecurity posture will always need to be updated and also adjusted to deal with this increased complexity. We understand that having a robust cybersecurity strategy in place is actually half job done sebenarnya. Strong execution capabilities is also equally important to successfully drive the nation into digitalization, or even to have to come up with a very good policy. But again, as for my first statement, a rapid digital transformation will shift the priorities. So of course, we need to keep up with all of this and advancement, the changes and everything, and of course the policy and also whatever governance that we have may change accordingly actually. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Puan. And finally, from Encik Amirul, what are your thoughts on this?
I would also agree with the other two panelists. It's really not about not so much about regulations. We have to look also into self-regulation, because we are moving towards something that may be beyond us. We may not be able to control all information that coming to us. We need to also see whether we are also able to receive that information, to filter information. For example, we have to be ready for example, like metaverse. We have to be ready for challenging situations where we will have to be on our own. Just like what happened to our country before, we have to be on our own. We may not be in the best position to look into other persons to help us. For example, I think it should be co-regulation as well as self-regulation. We have to see on whether we are vigilant enough to see what's coming to us. And then as the regulation, there will always be a need to revamp or to review regulations. As technology is changing, we are moving towards 5G, we are moving towards Internet of Things. There may be a regulation that that can be created. So I think it will never be enough lah. Yep.
Thank you very much. And I think the final question that I like to pick up from Dr. Sonia Zulhuda. Platform regulation depends so much on the platform owners. If the biggest players are still foreign-based, not much can be expected, more so if we hope co-regulation. Nigeria had recently forced Twitter to open their representative in Nigeria. Has Malaysia considered similar attempts? What role Facebook office in Malaysia has done to this effect? Okay, maybe I think all panelists can attempt to answer, but maybe the focus is more on Jamirul.
Yeah. Facebook and Google have their office in Malaysia, but I think most of them are marketing in nature. The regulation or the public policy team that we are contacting with is based in Singapore, And I think we are also in the midst of engaging with them for them to be with us in Malaysia. But there are certain issues that they are considering because I think you may know that the current situations of our country is not really good. In 2-3 years back, it's really challenging for us to ask them to come here, but we are recommending them to come here so that we can work closely together. And although they don't have a specific office in Malaysia, we are also closely contacting them in Singapore. And the request that we have submitted to them will be reviewed by the US team. And I think yes, I think Dr. Sony has also talked about, because they are overseas based, right? So they are not really within our licensing regime or even our enforcement regime. So what could be done is, I think that is why we are looking towards co-regulation. We will work together. There are regulations, and we will also work with them to establish code of conducts. And then there are also concerns or even recommendations for us to develop code of conduct, ASEAN code of conduct, to have a bigger and stronger force by the government. So we are also looking towards that.
Okay, thank you, Chamirul. Maybe one final summary from each speaker before we conclude the session. Dr. Ani.
Thank you, Dr. Maidin, for moderating the session, and also because of that, a very short and precise. We work for sustainability in many aspects. We might not label it as such, but we are moving towards that direction, and hopefully we will achieve, if not all, most of it by 2030.
Thank you, Dr. Ani. Over to you, Puan Azlina.
Yeah, sorry, Dr. Okay, all right. Okay, so the digital transformation of a nation can be described as a journey. Basically, there's a path that each and every one of us to take, and also a destination to reach, and also there's a unit needs to be met along the way, actually. So the government has come up with all initiative, MCSS, My Digital, 4IR, and so on. So I'm sure that the digital transformation of Malaysia will be a very exciting journey, because again, like I answered the question from one of the participants about rapid changes will shape the cybersecurity priorities. We need to always update and deal with the increased complexity. Having the strategy or having the initiative is just a half job done. So we need to have a strong execution capabilities, and as per MCSS, it is the gist of the implementation of MCSS is everyone. That means it's a multi-stakeholders actually. The strategy belongs to everyone, and we need everybody actually to work together to achieve whatever that we have outlined in the 5 pillars basically. Thank you very much.
And finally, Chamirul.
Yeah. For conclusion, I think we need to work together to achieve a strong country. I think the government is not alone. I think we will also seek inputs from the citizens or from the users in implementing any laws of regulations. I think the hashtag for COVID-19, kita jaga kita, is also can be applied here, because we are the one who is protecting us. Instead of looking at the government only, I think it is time for us to work together with the academicians, with the users, and also the government, with the platform providers to be or to create a safer internet environment for Malaysians. Thank you very much.
I think that finally or nicely concludes the session. Thank you very much to all esteemed speakers for joining us this morning. We hope that this kind of discussion can be continued perhaps on another series. Nanti kita jemput lagi, jangan harap sudi menerima undangan, insyaAllah. With that, this is basically the end of the first panel discussion. Thank you. And what happens next is that we will go to the breakout rooms, whereby for the members' information, these are the presentations of research finding from undergraduate as well as postgraduate students, in which they have done a short-term project concerning cyber law, cyber security, ICT. There are basically two faculties here. The first one is law, or ICOL, will be in the main room, or 1A if I'm not mistaken, and for the KICT will be in room 2A. If the panelists are available, you can stick around to listen to the presentations, no problem. And then after this, the second panel discussion will start at 2:30, where the theme is AI and cybersecurity. The panelist is this session will be moderated by Prof. Dr. Ida Madiha Abdul Ghani Azmi. The speakers will be Associate Professor Colonel Retired Dr. Hussein Jazri from Serba Dynamic, Dr. Michael Lim from PDRM, and finally Encik Harmi Muhammad, also from MCMC. So stick around with us. Thank you very much. See you in the breakout rooms. I think you can, I have enabled the setting to enable everyone to choose. If you wish to listen to the first track, you can move on your own. The choice is yours. If you would like to listen to both any of the tracks. I have enabled the breakout room dekat bawah tu. Thank you, Dr. Ani Munira, Puan Azlina, and Encik Amirul. Assalamualaikum. Thank you.
I know for sure that I'm not involved in cybercrime, so I feel safe, you know. And a bit of introduction about, now let me get your CV. Lost it already.
Cukup lah tu. Enough.
Huh? Cukup tu? He's a visiting lecturer here. Oh, good. Alhamdulillah. It's nice to hear that. He teaches cybercrime in Master of Law Enforcement at Saito University College. Is that in Japan? Saito?
No, Saito is our somewhere MPSJ, near MPSJ. Saito University College.
Oh. I must go out.
It's a prime university for law enforcement. They are offering.
Right. I must go out of IIUM so that I can see the world. All right. Completed your PhD in Information Security Culture at University of Melbourne. So you are actually a practitioner, right? Like Prof. Jazz as well, practitioner in the sense that you are trained.
Much lesser as in contrast with our Prof. Jazz.
Good to hear. Good to hear. But it's good to hear that you also research, right, on behavioral and organizational aspects of information privacy and security.
Yeah, basically it's a change of behavior because I'm talking about security culture.
Yeah, as long as UIA community is not the subject of your research, it's fine. I feel rest assured put it that way. And our third speaker is Encik Harmi Muhammad, Senior Director, Head of Network Security Division, MCMC, will be talking about the so much hype artificial intelligence. And let me get the short CV of Harmi. I lost all my files. Back is my files. Short and sweet, like the person. Sweet part. I'm a bit naughty this afternoon, all right? He's the head of Network Security Division at MCMC since November 2020, after serving 3 years at the National Cyber Security Agency, an agency under the National Security Council. He has 21 years of combined policy, technical, and international relations experience in a telecommunications regulatory environment. He's also a person trained in computer science from Indiana University, Bloomington. With that short introduction, and forgive my naughty remarks and cheeky remarks because it's in the afternoon and it's just after Jumaat prayer, so we need to create a lively environment. I would first welcome Prof. Jazz to start the discussion going by giving his thoughts on cybersecurity, privacy, and safety laws for Malaysia. Why do we need them, and why do we need you? Most importantly, you're welcome, Prof. Jazz.
Thank you, thank you. Let me first start with saying that thank you for the invitation. But I also have to forewarn you that the internet stability here at Air Hitam is not that good. So maybe take note, MCMC is sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down. So if you lost me for a while, then is the connectivity, you know, it's not me. All right. So okay, I'll start with security, privacy, and laws. And basically, what we're saying here is that the digital economy and the internet has become a part of our lives, and then we cannot depart from it. And it is a tool whereby these tools can be used for us, for good or against. So 10 years ago, the digital communication and digital lifestyle and digital world is still a very technical centric. But I think over the years, and especially after the pandemic, I think the maturity of the digital world has come to its near peak, I would suppose, if not the peak, whereby security and privacy becomes the utmost important subject to be discussed online, especially the use of the internet and anything to do with digital world, including digital economy, digital governance, digital lifestyle, everything. Okay, why is cybersecurity and privacy is so important, and we need to have a law around it? I think this question is so basic. We do have laws before. I think we have PDPA, it's a privacy law, and then we have also sort of like Computer Crimes Act, which is also a law that looks into the crime aspect of the space. But the question now is that all those laws in existence is enough, and is it adequate to sustain as well as to enable the digital space to be more safe and secure to everyone, not just to the government side, not just to the law enforcers, but also to the child of 2 years, 3 years, and 4 years who are already on TikTok, you know, with 10,000 viewers. 2 years, 3 years, TikToks with 10,000 viewers. I have my concern because in this kind of era, then what I have seen is that besides the opportunity, there are also the threats. So in this case, my view is that the perspective of cybersecurity and privacy, especially in the context of even later we can talk about AI, is very important to be also evolving, so that those issues concerned can properly be addressed. So we cannot stay too stagnant. In other words, if the traditional law, basic laws like penal codes and all that can sustain within 10 years without major revision, I do not think the digital laws, digital related laws can sustain that time of longevity. So it requires a longer revision, a shorter revision time. it could be 2-3 years, and a revision and relook has to be done by everybody, the authorities as well as the practitioners and the users. So I think we need to work together towards it. Maybe this is just for a start. And last but not least, I would like to say also that the last 10 years we have been talking about cyber security. But I have seen nowadays that the domain of cybersecurity and the domain of privacy has enlarged to become equally likely. Meaning, last time we talked about so much on cybersecurity, technical centricness of it, the need for protection for enterprises. But now, the issue of privacy has become as great, as intense, and as wide as cybersecurity. And at this moment, there are huge gaps in the privacy context within the digital space. We will relate this into AI at the later stage. Thank you.
Wow, that is really short and sweet, Prof. Jess. But one thing about anything digital is that the law always lag behind. The technology is moving so fast that the law cannot catch up. But at times I feel that this is done deliberately so that we are not simply, controlling technology. So we'll be able to allow it to grow, and we worry about the repercussions or the consequence much later. And perhaps with that response, maybe we can move on to Dr. Michael Lim, from Bukit Ahmad, to talk on cybercrime challenges for law enforcement. Yes, Dr. Lim, the floor is yours.
Prof, if I want to upload, can I do so?
You can share.
Oh, okay.
Share slides, yes.
Oh, I can share, right?
Yeah. Share screen.
Share screen. Oh, just like what our short and sweet our prof did.
Yes.
Just baca, dia tak payah share. No need to share. Can also, right? Up to
Can
me,
also.
right?
Can also.
Can also, right?
Can
So
also.
perhaps I think perhaps I share the screen. So okay, I can choose my screen, right?
Yes.
Okay. So can you see the screen? Can you see the screen now?
No.
It's
Coming
coming
on.
up, I think.
Yeah.
It states that there. All right.
Can you see that?
Yeah, we can see that.
Participant can now see your application. Because since I have been allocated for 20 minutes, I will make full use of the 20 minutes. Okay, first of all, of course, good afternoon to our moderator, Professor Dr. Ida, our expert panelists, our Prof. Jess, our Encik Hermi, and then guests and senior, all the participants, semi-participant, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you very much for inviting me as to share a bit of my experience. Okay, my topic is challenges in tackling cybercrime. Okay, so of course the scope is first I will talk on definition of cybercrime. Of course, if we don't have a clear definition, then I think this is the most important thing. What do you mean by cybercrime? Then what is the impact of cybercrime? And I will just show you the statistic of cybercrime, types of cybercrime. I will not share all for the 20 minutes, but perhaps some of them. Then the challenges in general and challenges for public police. Since we have police bantuan as well. Then from Bukit Ahmad, as introduced by Professor Ida, so I will talk on the public police. And then perhaps how to fight cybercrime and conclusion. I will try to do it within 20 minutes. Okay. Okay, definition of cybercrime. I think we have heard what our Prof. Jess has mentioned. So cybercrimes basically means unauthorized interception, right? Unauthorized access, unauthorized interception of network and computer system through computer. Why they do so? Because in order to obtain personal data or manipulate to achieve their goal. In this case, terrorism, financial gain, maybe political, blackmailing, unlawful in a computer. Basically, it's again the very classic tribe: confidentiality, integrity, availability of the computer system. Another definition is computer-mediated activity, which are either illegal or considered illicit by certain parties, and which can be conducted through global electronic network. Why illegal? Why considered illicit? Illegal means, of course, it's against the law. Illicit means perhaps is dealing with morality. But for today, for today's sharing, I will focus on just crime, not the morality. Next. Okay, so as I said, this is another category of cybercrimes. So if you look at the slide, on the far left is a traditional cybercrime, meaning that even without it's a predated internet, before the internet. Okay, even with the internet, of course, it will help to reach the larger audience, larger audience. And of course, for example, you are talking about fraud, theft, money laundering. Money laundering without internet, it will still happen. But with internet, of course, it could reach a larger audience, and you can assist the syndicate to make more money. And hate speech. Hate speech, for example, traditionally, you can do the hate speech, but of course, you have to have the physical meeting. But now, with the internet, of course, it can again reach to larger audience. And then, of course, you can only do it in front of a screen like what we are doing now. The second one to the far east is a true cyber crimes. Means that computer focused crime. Without the internet, it won't happen. Example, hacking, website defacement, ransomware. Okay, now everybody knows about ransomware. Everybody fears about ransomware, and it costs organization, individual, trillions of dollars. Again, we could further subdivide cybercrime into cyber trespass, cyber deception and theft, cyber pornography, cyber violence. For the first two categories, we can label it as the crimes against property. Okay. For the third one is a crime against morality. We are talking about breaching laws on obscenity and decency. But for the fourth one, you are talking about crime against person. For example, you are doing the psychological harm, inciting physical harm. We are talking about hate speech. We are talking about cyber stalking. And I would like to add another category. This is against the state. We are talking about cyber espionage. Cyber espionage, there is again the state. You can do espionage against the state, nation to nation. That is the fifth category. Okay, what is the impact of cyber crimes on society? Why we are interested to know about the cybercrime? Because the impact is so huge. For example, FBI in 2008 told the Wall Street Journal, every American citizen should expect that all of their data has been stolen on the dark web, a part of the deep web. Of course, we are not going to go deep into all this. Of course, what we are accessing, what you call surface web, is only 4 to 5%. 95% is either deep web or dark web. Okay, in September 2020, ransomware claimed its first life. This is why, because the hospital has to transfer the patient to another hospital after that particular hospital being suffered ransomware attack. And billionaire businessman Warren Buffett, I believe most of us know about Warren Buffett. He called the cybercrime as the #1 problem with mankind, and cyber attacks a bigger threat to humanity than nuclear weapons. Okay. And IBM president described cybercrime as the greatest threat to every profession, every industry, every company in the world. This is a newspaper cutting about a German hospital head, patient taken to another city and died. Why she has to be taken to another city? Because the first hospital that she visited suffers ransomware attack, and encrypt the whole IT system, the medical system. It cannot function, malfunction, and while on the way taking her to another hospital, she died on her way. You can see this is a huge impact. You cost life of human being. Again, if you could see, 2017 is only 5 billion, up 325 billion from 2015. 15 times increase in just 2 years. And in 2008, the damage is 8 billion, not million, billion. And we can see that, you know, by 2021, the damage cost to reach 20 billion. And of course, they predict that it will cost about 10.5 trillion annually by 2025. Okay. This is a statistic from Royal Malaysia Police, and we could see, of course, the Royal Malaysia Police, you know, they classify or categorize it as jenayah telecommunication, e-financial, love scam, e-dagang, pinjaman tak wujud, okay, and pelaburan. This is just to show you this is real, it's not myth. Okay, we are talking about this is serious thing. Okay, this is some paper cutting. We could see our Malaysian military network targeted in cyber attack. Media Prima hit ransomware. I believe many of us know. Of course, they never admit until today. No one want to admit because it will tarnish the company reputation, image. Of course, CIMB Bank, many people knows, but they only mention technical glitch. But of course, nobody knows. No answer, yeah. Only Mr. Hami can answer, but I don't think he is going to review to us. Okay, so I will share with you some of the cyber crimes, type of cyber crime, and why is this pose big challenges to law enforcement. Okay, as we said, this is a computer-assisted terrorist offenses. Okay, we are talking about terrorism and internet, meaning that the terrorist group using the internet try to achieve their goal. I mean, computer-assisted terrorist offenses. In other words, they make use of the internet in support. Okay, even without internet, this thing will happen. But as I said, this is a far left. That means this is a traditional crime, but it grow, it expand because of the internet. Okay, and it's based on communication and coordination. That means you can have a communication, can reach out to, from Middle East, you can reach out to Nusantara, for example, or Middle East to other country. Coordination, you can plan, you can discuss through social media or whatsoever. They can spread their propaganda, publicity, and recruitment. Of course, gathering of information, fundraising activity. Advantages, why people use internet. Okay, and this cause the challenges, this pose the challenges to law enforcement. Because the internet, as we know by nature, enable action at a distance by one click. We do not need to go nearby, need to go physically. The internet turn actors with limited financial material resources. You do not need to use, you know, big cow, this thing, you know, you can have a remote switch, so on and so forth. The most important thing is anonymity. You do not know who hide behind a computer. This is the biggest, one of the biggest challenges for law enforcement, not only for law enforcement in Malaysia, but throughout the world, global. This is a global issue. Of course, the final one is lack of regulation. But anyhow, from the researcher, you know, is where only little empirical evidence that we can see this terrorist group make use of computer or internet to launch attack. But what we have found is only Al-Qaeda group using internet to raise funds and also to do recruitment. But until this moment, very little empirical evidence can support that they are using this to launch attack, physical attack. Okay, I have to go fast because only 20 minutes, and I don't want to, you know, take up our Mr. Hermi time. Okay, another one that I want to share is the online fraud. Of course, the online fraud is hindered by the lack of systematic and or official data. This is a problem. This is a challenges. Okay, and of course in US they have this what you call Internet Crime Complaint Center, ICC, and this is in the collaboration between the FBI and the Nationwide Color Crime. Of course, why they want to receive this public report, because they will refer to the relevant agency, and with the statistic, you can do analysis and you can lay out your strategy to tackle cybercrime. Okay, this is in Malaysia. In Malaysia, of course, we have a few stakeholders. We have MCMC, we have our CSM, we have Malaysia, but I do not know whether we have one stop center. For CSM, of course, you have Cyber 911, Cyber 999 for you to report your, cyber crime. And I think for NACSA, they are only dealing with those crimes against CNII or critical national information infrastructure. But for SKMM, I do not know. Perhaps you could throw the question to our Mr. Hermi later on. Okay, so what is the advantages for syndicate to use internet or cybercrime? Again, same story, anonymity and disguise. Everybody hide behind computer. Jurisdiction. You are from China, you can make money from Malaysia. Likewise, from Malaysia, you can make money, you can make money. You can steal money from other country. This is jurisdiction. Our people cannot simply go to China, or China police cannot come here to just arrest our people. You are talking about transnational, you are talking about jurisdiction. This is another challenge for law enforcement agency in tackling cybercrime globally. This is an issue. And of course, underreporting, no one want to report the cybersecurity incident because of the image, because of their image, because of you will lose confidence, customer confidence. Of course, cost efficiency and saving. Only using one computer, you can make handsome money or good money. Okay, another one is online hate speech. This is just merely extension of utterance. Even without computer, you can do hate speech. But of course, if I want to say something to our Mr. Hermi or Prof. Jess, I have to go there and I have to, be physically in front of him and tell him something. But now, no. The expansion of the internet has seen an unwelcome proliferation of such speech. Okay, and of course, the most noticeable online hate speech in the form of website, blog, social media, and is established by organized political groups. And these are typically far right. Those people, who only are concerned about their country, their state, ultra-nationalists, white supremacists, and neo-Nazi in orientation. And you can see from the statistic, hate crime increased from year to year. And this is the statistic in 2019, 2020. And again, if we, Malaysia, we have all these statistics center to collect data, I think this is a good measure so that we know, and law enforcement agency, the relevant law enforcement agency know what to do, how to do, and lay out our strategy and etc. Okay, advantages. Again, same thing, use of internet. When you disseminate message, of course, you can target your hate group, or you can reach out to larger audiences. And this is an extremely efficient and cost-effective communication. Okay, before that, if I want to, 10 people, if I go to a place, the message can only relate to 10 people. But now, no. With just a click of mouse, it can reach global. And of course, you have degree of protection. Again, because of anonymous posting, no one knows who is edisi siasat. Okay, that expose all sort of things. Okay, I think MCMC, Mr. Hami is knocking his head. So this is edisi siasat, okay, with significantly reduced risk of identification and prosecution under anti-hate speech law, okay, if you have one. Okay, so this is, I have to spend a bit more time on this hate speech, because just imagine if the target of victim of hate speech in one country, for example, in Singapore, the group or individual responsible for that speech are in another, in Thailand, okay, and the online content is hosted on server located in third territory, for example, Indonesia. Okay, so this is question of jurisdiction responsibility. How are we going to deal with this? Of course, we will see how are we going to do that. Perhaps we need to have collaboration and cooperation internationally so on and so forth, for dealing with hate speech, and this pose serious challenges. Okay, I think we are now headache with so many fake news, all this stuff, and we have problem to go after them, especially when their server host in other country. Okay, I think Mr. Hermi will agree with me. And in European Union, of course, they have been taking steps, and they have taken steps to harmonize, okay, and dealing with all this illegal and harmful content, including the improvement of international cooperation on enforcement. Okay, and of course, again, variation in hate crime laws is another problem, because it's not the same. In some country, perhaps their speech considered as crime, but not in other countries. Secondly, of course, this problem for you to locate website on server in other territories, as I mentioned just now. For example, this is a very good example. The extremist British National Party has a website registered in Tonga, another country, enabling them to safely post material that would fall foul of the UK's anti-racism law, where the site hosted in Britain. So because it hosted in Tonga, another country, that's why UK government can't do anything. So this is the danger of internet. Okay. Then because it spans across a national territory and without adequate provision, whether to have sufficient law, and this is a significant, is also because of significant difference in definition, you know, as to what actually constitutes child pornography. This is for child pornography. Yeah? So almost the same reason why people use internet, you know, to achieve their goal, to post child pornography, to make money from child pornography, because it's national territories. The server in US and the subscriber is in Malaysia, for example. And without the adequate provision of law, and we have different definition, what constitutes child pornography. In Malaysia, different law have different definition as what constitute child. Some laws say 18 years old. Some, for example, Akta Perlindungan Kanak-kanak, I think it's 16 years old. Then you have another law say 18 years old. So these are all different definition as what constitute child. This is also another issue. Okay, you can see that. Okay, Malaysia, British Pedophile Inquiry, Malaysia repeatedly press UK for data. So I think Malaysia also, it says that we have about 200, you know, child victims for this pedophile called Richard Hacker, who has been arrested, I think, and charged. This is just a recent news, I think, in 2021. Another one of the world's most wanted pedophiles arrested in small Sarawak town after joint effort with Aussie cops. And we ask question to us, why only with the collaboration of Australian cops only we can arrest this guy? How come our authority never detected this guy who hide in a small town in Sarawak for so many years? And he happened to be the top 10 wanted pedophiles in the world. And he just arrested recently because I think he posted his photo in the quarantine because of during MCO. So this is the news posted 5th September 2020. Okay. Okay, cyber stalking is another problem. Cyber stalking, again, if you don't have internet, you can still stalk, but you have to follow. You have to follow them, all this thing. And it has been argued that feeling of anonymity afforded by internet communication, again because of anonymity. And now this has become bigger and bigger problem because you can just you know, stalk people using social media, using handphones, so on and so forth. Okay, this is a Malaysia case where I think this is not the real Nimatan. I think she had made 5 reports to Malaysian police, but police can't do anything because we don't have law. Okay, so long as you don't touch her, you don't touch your victim, police can't do anything. And she has lost 2 jobs so far. And in fact, she wanted to end her life. And this is not, because this is not the culture here to see this thing as crime. Okay, and we see Malaysia, like most countries across Asia Pacific, does not have anti-stalking law. I believe now, I think Parliament is in the midst of coming out with cyber stalking law. But for your information, until now, we don't have cyber stalking law. And, you know, became suicidal and was forced to live temporarily in women's refuge. And she changed, you know, few jobs. And in fact, police, you know, police suddenly asked her, you know, why victim didn't just go back to her street and loving ex-boyfriend. Can you see that? You know, she broke off, you know, after the police suggested to her, because the police also can't do anything because we don't have law. So the mental torture is as explainable. It's a long-term effect, psychological, and in fact, it is worse than physical assault. Okay, another one, almost. I think encryption and law enforcement. I think encryption by criminal pose a serious risk. Encryption may be used by drug lords, terrorists, violent gangs, and maintain electronically stored evidence. Once encrypted, of course, it can prevent authority from trying to access the evidence and frustrate search warrant and wiretap orders. Criminal networks have a huge demand for encrypted communication platform to facilitate their criminal activities. We know, you know, they launch their activity, they conduct their activity in dark web and using encrypted technology. This is the news published where 800 criminals arrested in biggest ever law enforcement operation against encrypted communication. What happened was, few countries, they have come out with their company. They call it, this company is Anom. Okay, Anom, and they sell this encryption technology to the syndicate group, and from there they understand, they have intel, and they go after them. 800 criminals arrested, and this is international collaborated and accepted effort. Okay, another one, Malaysia. You see, in Malaysia itself, you see, we have problem because syndicate using encrypted apps, encrypted technology to communicate between them. And this happened in 2021, where they shared through WhatsApp. They can advertise through WhatsApp or this thing, and we have problem to find them, to detect them, or to try to get evidence, to gather evidence. Because at the end of the day, when you want to prosecute, criminals, evidence count. Without evidence, court can just shut out the case. Another one, okay, Germany. And in Germany, they come out with they give power to the government to conduct targeted remote hacking. And just to share, I think Germany and France, they have developed decryption law. That means force the syndicate decrypt file or hard disk that they suspect, you know, that they contain evidence in their computer or in their computer system. Perhaps time for Malaysia to consider that. In US, you cannot ask people or suspect to try to decrypt, you know, or give you the password. No. But in Europe, they try to come up with law. Hacking power, give them more power for government to hack if they feel that, you know, if you have the reasonable doubt for them to do so. Okay, these are the 6 key challenges for public police. I'm talking about public police. First, we are talking about de-minism. De-minism means this is too trivial, you know, too minor, you know, for the party concerns to come up with to pay concern about this. Second one, you are talking about, this is a routine one. That means sometimes because there is no provision of law. That means there's no crime if there's no law. For example, cyber stalking, even it happened, but you can't do anything, right? So this is the second one. The third one, of course, jurisdictional disparity, meaning that multiple jurisdiction. As we shared just now, somewhere in Thailand, they hack into your computer in Malaysia, and another one in Singapore, you can't do anything. The fourth one, non-routine activity and police culture. This is not the police routine culture. Police basically is maintain peace and order. This is all new to them. Of course, they have to build all the capacity building, you know, they have to train, upskill, reskill, under reporting. No one want to report, especially from financial institution. That's why until today, no one want to admit that they suffer ransomware attack. Okay, media prima, so on and so forth. Fourth, of course, policing using non-traditional technology intervention. And police are not trained to use, you know, whether it's the, you know, intelligent threat detection system or platform. Of course, we cannot give that reason, but we have to keep training. This is in general, 6 key challenges in general. Loss of data because of what our prof just said. Sometimes because of PDPA, because of GDPR, for example, in Europe, General Data Protection Regulation. That means, in fact, the telco, same thing also. This is under ISP. Telco also will simply share their customer information with law enforcement agency, right, Mr. Hamid? So this is loss of data. So sometimes law enforcement cannot get sufficient evidence or the relevant evidence to try to further investigate or prosecute the syndicate. Second thing I have mentioned, encryption. Encryption, you can't do anything. In fact, you know, even FireEye has tested the ransomware. Ransomware nowadays, they send ransomware, their malicious code through encryption, encrypted file. Once encrypted, no one can do anything unless you have the decryption key, you know, you have the decryption key. You can know that there's an unusual traffic coming to your system, but you cannot see that there is a ransomware. This is a problem. And this is not only the problem for law enforcement in Malaysia, but global issue. Loss of location, again, you don't know where he hide, anonymity hide behind the computer. You don't know where it's come from. So many attacks, you know, of course, you know, Ukraine power grid in 2015. They will claim that Russian. In fact, recently, even colonial pipeline gas in US. Again, they will blame from either North Korea or Russia or China. Okay. And challenges associated with national legal. We have not sufficient law. Okay. Fourth, international cooperation. This is a problem. You need to have MLA, mutual legal agreement. You need to have extradition act in order for you to do that. I think in Europe, they are, you know, they have taken steps. I think in this Southeast Asia, I believe we also taken steps. We also try to participate in United Nations treaty or whatsoever. Fourth, challenges of public-private partnership. This is the problem. As I mentioned just now, to what extent privates, you know, want to give their cooperation to the public law enforcement. As I mentioned just now, telco, for example, we need the information form, you know, the calling, for example, you know, the content. But how far can they, you know, there's no clear statement or clear provisions as to, you know, to what extent the private should cooperate with the public. Okay. Okay, how to fight cybercrime? This is a very practical. Become cautious when browsing website. Flag and report suspicious email. To whom you report, I don't know. Perhaps MCMC will let you know. You can always reflect to our Cyber 999 and also police. Just now I have shared. Never click on unfamiliar links or ad. Use a VPN whenever possible. Ensure websites are safe before entering credentials. Okay. Keep antivirus application system up to date. Use strong password if 14. This is a bit academic, but high level. No, this is raising awareness. The most important thing is awareness. You can see Macau scams and scam. Police and also other stakeholders have been trying to educate, raise awareness, but day after day you can see still many people fall victims until today. I don't know, because we think that, you know, we won't be a victim. Second, build our capability. As I said, you know, this is the new area. Perhaps, you know, we have to have more people who knows how to maneuver in dark web, you know, to show up gaps, particularly in developing countries. Introduce new legislation to fight cybercrime. As I said just now, cyber stalking is in the making, and of course, our Computer Crime Act 1970, I think, is a time to amend and to to make amendment according to the latest development. Strengthen international cooperation and dialogue between government, United Nations, other international as well as regional organizations, setting global principle for public-private partnership. Okay, in conclusion, nowadays, because we depend on net, we depend on internet, you know, and the more, in short, the more you connected to internet, the more vulnerable you are. Okay, but of course, if you are bank, you don't have internet banking service, I believe your customer will run away. And today, you know, this thing happen, we can see, we can talk to each other because of internet. So you have no choice, but of course, to be more careful, you know, to be aware of the danger of, you know, you can become victim. There's no 100% security, you know, there's no 100% security, okay, in this interconnected world. Okay, I think that's all. Thank you very much. Sorry for taking more few minutes from you. I pass back to our mediator. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lim. In fact, that was a very good elaboration of the problems and challenges that we're having in Malaysia in relation to cybercrime. And you have also given specific examples in Malaysia, how, you know, people fell victim to cybercrimes. You have actually covered quite a lot of areas. You have classified the various types of crimes, you know.
Yeah, but I dare not prolong because our Prof just given me some time. You see,
beautiful, beautiful. Because Prof just started with, you know, a story of, I think 2-year-old or 4-year-old playing TikTok, and how, you know, she is basically oblivious of the risks and the threats out there in the internet. And I remember at one point in time, people actually classified the internet as the wild, wild west, actually, where, you know, everything is free and possible on the internet. And it's good to hear that you know, intelligence and enforcement agencies are actually taking enforcement and security issues very seriously on the internet. And particularly so when you mentioned that with regard to 2 pedophiles, the fact that these are only detected through foreign intelligence, and that tells how good our intelligence is. Or is the opposite, the fact that in this interconnected world, there's no way we can live alone. Just like kita jaga kita, right, in the internet world as well, you need the others to come in and help us out in terms of, you know, policing the internet. And with that, I'm going to continue with Encik Harmi, who'll be talking on artificial intelligence, whether artificial intelligence is actually a sword in the sense that you can use it to kill others, just like the sci-fi movies that you see, or whether it's a shield, right, to protect us from future disasters or whatever. Thank you very much. Encik Harmi, the screen is yours.
Thank you, Provider, and thank you for the organizer for inviting MCMC to be part of this event. Let me share my screen. Is that okay for everyone? Right. Okay. So I don't have that many slides. What I'll do, I'll be sharing briefly on you know, what is AI and how it can be applied to cybersecurity, right? But before I start, I just want to say that what is an offense in the real world is also an offense in the virtual world. So, you know, if you think that you can get away with doing things on the virtual world, that is not true. The law will catch up with you, right? So why sword and shield? Sword because AI is used by malicious actors to launch cyber attacks. Yeah, and AI will enable more sophisticated and destructive cyber attacks that can be launched against nations, organizations, as well as individuals. So no one can escape this. Yeah. I'm going to share 3 examples of how AI can be used by malicious actors to launch attacks. Number 1, AI risks or adversarial samples. AI can actually be trained to react in a certain manner when presented with certain situations. Imagine that malicious actors learns how the system or this particular AI system works, and can then present the AI system with certain cues for it to react in an opposite manner. For example, in an autonomous car, when it sees a stop sign, it will stop. But AI can be trained or can, I mean, the malicious actors can present the autonomous cars with some other signs. When it sees, instead of stopping, it moves forward or into the traffic. So that's number 1. Number 2, AI manipulation of poison data. Malicious actors can reverse engineer AI systems or steal sets of data that are used by the AI system. Today, there's a lot of data breach. Was to stop them to steal those data sets and starts to put in bad data so that the AI can be trained to do something else. Number 3 is AI weaponization. AI can also help attackers increase the effectiveness of social engineering. Today, deepfakes have been used to falsify identities. There's a case in one of European companies where it involves the use of deepfakes. It caused them to transfer a certain amount of money without proper authorization. AI can also be trained to detect loopholes in systems. Today, you have hackers trying to figure out 0 days, but imagine what can be done with AI to detect these loopholes. What's even more dangerous is that when it comes to malicious actors, they don't have any ethics. They don't care, what is the effect of what they do with AI. Whereas kita as users bound by ethics, by rules and regulations on how we can use AI. So I'm a bit afraid when it comes to AI as a sword, being used as a sword. AI as a shield, as Dr. Ida mentioned just now, AI can also be used by human defenders to counter cybersecurity risks. So with everything going digital today, attack surface has widened. Everything can be attacked. Your fridge, your TV, your washing machine, all internet connected. Making any form of defense to be quite an uphill battle for human defenders. We are resource constrained, and we need all the help that we can get. So there are a few applications of AI for cybersecurity applications. Number 1 is AI in antivirus services. Today, antiviruses works on signatures. Imagine the possibility of AI in antiviruses, without having to depend on signatures. Number 2 is modeling user behavior. Hackers actually excel when they are able to pretend to be an employee of an organization. They steal credentials, slip into the system, pretend as if they are one of the employee working as normal. But AI can be used to train to detect abnormal user behaviors, and with that, we have a better chance at preventing hackers or the APT, the advanced persistent threats by nation-state organizations. And last but not least is in terms of automated network and system analysis. When we talk about the defense system that we have, we normally depends on our ability to analyze lines and lines of logs and codes. So you know, with the power of AI, we can automate the process. AI can take over some of these activities. You know, it can be applied in terms of IT asset inventory management, threat exposure, breach risk prediction, as well as incident response. This is my last slide, AI in Malaysia and opportunities. While there's no specific legislation when it comes to regulating AI in Malaysia, the Malaysian Artificial Intelligence Roadmap was launched in March 2021. The roadmap outlines 6 strategies and 22 strategic initiatives to develop an AI innovation ecosystem for AI-powered transformation that will expedite Malaysia in achieving its goal to become a high technology nation. According to Microsoft Malaysia, AI can potentially create 6 million jobs by 2030 in Malaysia, and these job creations will spur further development in other areas as well. And based on what I've shared earlier, I think there are a lot of opportunities for Malaysian companies to invest in the application of AI in cybersecurity. We need the homegrown technologies for cybersecurity. We cannot be depending on foreign technology forever. I'm excited to and look forward to see how Malaysian companies will do with AI-driven cybersecurity solutions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I like your last point where you prefer to have more Malaysian companies to develop AI, because if it is homegrown technology, you'll be able to understand for yourselves the flaws and the strengths, or if there's any loopholes in the system, then you'll be able to control and regulate it. Now, of course, AI, like I mentioned, like when I started, brings a lot of hype to the mind of many, many people. Because it gives a lot of opportunities, not only for job creation, as you mentioned, job creation for honest people like us, you know, looking for a job, but also opportunities for the criminals. And that's the reason why it is also prime for, you know, to be overtaken by criminals. With that, I would like to open the session for question and answer session. Is there any questions from the audience? Faiz, would you like to raise some questions, Faiz? To start the ball rolling, Cik Harmi,
yeah.
Do we have a figure of how many companies or institutes or researchers were involved in developing AI in Malaysia? And is it high-end AI technology or is it low-end AI technology? Do we know for sure where we are in the AI world?
Unfortunately, I don't have that number, but I've read about some companies in Malaysian-based companies doing innovation in using AI as a solution, but not so much in cybersecurity though. They are developing AI-driven solutions in other areas. Yeah, but yeah, not so much in cybersecurity.
Assalamualaikum, Prof. I mean, if I may ask,
Yes, go ahead.
Assalamualaikum. We basically in the legal fraternity, we are concerned about the development of AI and as far as its use in sentencing. There was a recent development on this whereby AI was used to assist the judge to determine what would be the sentences lah, and accordingly the federal court, the office of the chief registrar believes that the use of AI in legal practice or sentencing, is proper. Although the procedure has yet to be updated to allow that. So just would like to have your the panel's opinion whether we are looking at the future of legal practice ni kan, macam lawyer and so on, whether things on the legal world can be automated, can be replaced by robots. And this is, I think, some of the students are concerned as well. Thank you. Maybe a question to Cik Armi.
Yeah, so just yeah. So you know, is the potential of AI in a legal profession is always there, because I think you know, AI is about teaching the system, and then you know, when you have enough information fed into the system for the AI to learn and then start making decisions. You know, that is what AI is. But what is key to that is that what is it that we are feeding in? Whether they are biased, you know, because you know, the AI will react as to what we feed. If it's not a good data set, then the AI will behave badly. If it's a good data set, then the AI will actually act per what we design it to be. Right? So that's why in Europe, for example, there are clear guidelines and ethics when it comes to AI. How do you you know, train your AI so that it presents you with a good result, you know, and all that. So that is the key. How do we govern the use of AI, and you know, how do we make sure that you know, we are not designing an AI system that will actually do bad things. Yeah, I hope that gives you an idea.
That's a very good answer, Cik Harmi. I remember one of the audience in my session, one time it was one of the students was asking me, what if I design my robot to kill humans? Why should I be responsible for what my robots have done? But I said, but you are a developer. I mean, you can't run away from your responsibility just because, you know, you want to create that distinction between your creation and you, but you are behind it. So the European regulation looks so much, focus so much on the developer of the system, that the developer of the system would have to abide to certain rules, set of rules, and which is good, right? So that, you know, these developers do not create robots that defy all the laws, rules, and principles that we abide by. But what I'm more interested is the reason I asked the question as, are we aware of where we are in this AI technologies? Because the problem in Malaysia is that we're always behind in terms of technology. And that's the reason, like what Dr. Lim mentioned about the 2 pedophiles case, right? That we were able to detect them only with the assistance of foreign intelligence. although they were like broadcasting or showcasing their so-called achievements through the dark web. And I thought that, you know, our police agencies in Bukit Ahmad particularly are actually policing the dark webs and looking at what's happening in the dark web. But they just show how I think the problem is not just law, the law is behind technology, but we are also behind technology. So we're behind two things, law and technology. And I think that goes to tied up to what Prof. Jess have mentioned as well, that, you know, perhaps with this metaverse, for example, you know, are we creating a new set of rules for metaverse because we want to run away from the rules in the real world, you know, and try to run away from our responsibility because it creates a world where we can do what we like, rule as we like, without any accountability and responsibility. So those are two questions for Mr. Lim, Dr. Lim, and Prof. Jess. Dr. Lim, we can't hear you. You're unmuted. Please unmute yourself here.
Oh, I said Prof. Jess, Dato Dr. Jess. Jawab dulu.
Prof. Jess, jawab dulu.
Saya respect seniority, mah.
Good, good. Prof. Jess, the question of metaverse. We lost connection with Prof. Jess again. So, Dr. Lim, you have.
Sorry, what was your question, please? I heard metaverse, but it relates.
No, the question. In relation to the pedophile that you mentioned, right? We are able to nab the two pedophiles with the assistance of foreign intelligence. This just show how behind we are in terms of the technology. And you mentioned that we need strong laws, but it's not just laws that we're lacking. We're also lacking technology.
Yeah, that's why I said, in fact, you have multiple factors, okay, in trying to, of course, this is facing by especially developing worlds, okay. Definitely you need international concerted effort, okay, because as you know, for example, I can host the material in US, but the subscriber, you can view it different time zone, for example, different time zone, and also the subscriber, you know, the US, in fact, they provided the credit cards detail to UK, to other police law enforcement in order for them to track them down. Because when you want to subscribe, for example, the pornography site, right? You have to subscribe by using your credit card, debit card, or whatsoever. When you key in your detail, that's where the US government shared this detail with other government law enforcement in order for them to track them down. And in fact, as far as from the west is from US, from Europe, from the east is Australia. When I was in Australia, also I saw in the news, you know, they raided those people or those you know, viewer who download the child pornography. Adult pornography is fine, but not child pornography. This is very pantang, I don't know, for most of the country. Okay, so of course, definitely we will agree with you, and happen in most of the country. I think definitely we need the capacity building, right? For example, if unless Mr. Hami will disagree with me, we lack of people. We need people who have know-how in trying to maneuver in that web, because you cannot simply go there, because they will track you, they will trace you down. Okay, how are you going to hide your identity is one thing. You have to really protect your identity, and you know that web, they change their node, they move their node from time to time. You won't be there for long. Okay, today you can access, perhaps tomorrow or day after tomorrow they will change it. Okay, that's one. There's of course law. Again, law, you know very well, even until today we don't have stalking law. Okay, our Computer Crime Act is 1997. Okay, I ask myself, how about ransomware? Are we, you know, continuously depending on Section 4(1) of data, computer, unauthorized access, read together with other thing, the penal code, okay? Because right now, okay, for example, abuse of network, section 233, MCMC. We always use that law and read together with, you know, either KK or other law, you know. For example, section 233 of MCMC, read together with section, what we call 420 or whatsoever, okay. And another problem here is now there's this happens when people make use of other people's account. They call it perhaps mode, okay. You can just pay 2,000 or 3,000 to just foreigner, Bangladesh or whatsoever. You buy over, you take over the whole account, their credit card, their online banking. When you go after them, what can you do? We used not to charge them. You know why? Because you know they are not the people behind the syndicate. They are just getting 2,000-3,000. But why should we go after them? But now we have to go after them. Why? Otherwise, syndicate will be, you know, making use of all these people. Now we charge them under section 424. But section 424 and either section 424 or section 59(1, Akta Kesalahan Kecil. And Akta Kesalahan Kecil is only 1,000 and below. Because we know that they are not the one who behind the syndicate. But still we cannot, you know, let go them. You know, we have to educate them so that, you know, you don't simply make, you know, easy money. Or either section 424, you mengalih atau menyembunyi wang lain orang or sendiri. But this is all what you said, lacking of law. This is one thing. But of course, on top of that, we also need technology, know-how. The most important thing is know-how. We don't have the know-how. And this is new area. We agree with that. But I think we need to do more. We need to do more. Okay, I believe so. And I think we need to learn or try to imitate what they call cyber epic. You know, in Israel, there is the whole ecosystem from the research lab. You know, from they attract all the big company, Microsoft, everything invest, and then you have the research lab. You have the whole ecosystem to train your cyber security, you know, people. And Canada is also copy the format of Israel and also Singapore. We have to do that. In fact, to me, it's not so difficult. You know, it's whether you want to do it or not. After all, you get a piece of land. I mean, you can invest, you can start small. The only thing is we do not know whether we have this knowledge or not. That all we learn from other people. We want to set up the whole ecosystem. You know, those are the things that I think we should think, especially those policy maker like Mr. Hamid Muhammad, Naksa, siapalah saya kan, siapalah saya. Yeah, thank you very much, Prof.
Thank you very much. I know we are supposed to end the session by 3:45, but I just saw Prof. Jez just now.
Yeah.
He seemed to be coming in and out.
Yeah, dia pandai strategi.
Strategi ke? Bukan teknologi. Okay, Prof. Jez, yes. Prof. Jez.
That is how bad is our connection outside KL.
See? This is technology. This is technology.
It's so inconvenient to blame technology, right?
Yeah.
Yes, Prof. Jez.
I just want to summarize because I have heard everybody was presenting in detail with slides. I'm the only one who's without the slides. So I felt threatened by it, you know. So anyway.
Consolidate.
Yeah. So let me summarize. I think my points of, actually that's why I did not put the slides. I just want to say a few words, but important one. Our laws are outdated. We need to review our Computer Crime Act urgently. One, we need to improve our Data Protection Act. Our PDPA is a laughing stock because it has so many exceptions. Government are not lead by example. Government are making excuses not to show example. So I think the PDPA has to be revised so that it matches the GDPR requirement in Europe. This is the expectation of the industry. The third law that we need to look at is the safety law. There is no safety
lost again. MCMC lagi kena blame. I think we shouldn't blame MCMC lah. We blame the management, personal management. Anyway.
Well, Prof. Jess, he wanted to have the last words.
Yeah, last word. Dia
Yeah,
suruh
we'll give him
ubah
a few
semua
more
undang-undang.
seconds. Huh?
Because I think the PDPA, what he is trying to say, PDPA is only imposed on the commercial transaction.
Yeah, we lost him.
PDPA
We
is
lost
only
him.
imposed on commercial transaction. That's what he is trying to say. Meaning that
Yeah.
public servant, if you are the user, data user, you are not, bound by the law.
Of
Only
course.
commercial transaction.
Of course.
This is a problem.
And people
Ah.
also question, why is the government exempted from PDPA? That's another big...
Because government, we have the highest power distance index in the world.
Anyway, we're running out of the time, and I'm so sorry. Is Prof. Jess back?
Yes,
Yeah,
he is.
Yeah?
Yep.
No, he's
He
not
is, but I
back.
can't
He's
see him.
frozen. I think
Yeah?
he's frozen again.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
I
back.
think we'll charge him for
Can you hear
personal
me?
management.
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you, Prof. Jess. You still, I'll
No,
give you
we can't.
a few minutes to say your last words.
Tak ada.
Hilang terus.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like those communication between Houston and the satellite, you know. Are you still with us? Are you on Earth? All right. I'm so sorry, Prof. Jess. We'll give you a few more minutes. Or Mahyudin, I pass to Mahyudin to decide. Mahyudin?
Prof. Jazz is coming back. Macam tak je. Prof, kita close lah.
All right. Okay. I am so sorry to cut short Prof. Jess. It has been an interesting session with the three speakers. Actually, there's a lot to be unearthed, to be discussed, to be debated, because cybersecurity is a very, very serious issue and it's confronting everybody, not only at the company level, country level, but also at individual level, because there are many, many victims who fell prey to cybersecurity. And some of these victims are actually educated people, and you wonder why they fall prey to cybersecurity, which means that cyber crimes or cybersecurity is something that should be, within the radar of every individual on this planet, as long as they are connected to the internet. And with that, let us end this session with wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And I pass the session to Dr. Mahyudin.